So, Bob, I've just finished your book. It was brilliant. It was so funny, such an easy read. Parts of it were crazy. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, I'm glad you found it funny. I'm glad you enjoyed it. My old assistant prompted me to write it. It was kind of funny. I used to keep all of my activities on my Outlook calendar, and one morning I came in and she goes, "I see you had a date last night. Tell me about it." So I started telling her all about the stories, about the date, and she goes, "You got to be kidding me." So she just kind of laughed and said, "You got to start writing these stories down." So I did. Over time, we had enough stories, and that's how we came up with the book Next.
That's a lot of dates, Bob. It must have cost you a fortune.
It was pretty expensive. You know, what I did is I took women on dates. That was what I know, how I grew up in dating, and that meant dinner and drinks, and it was expensive. And there's a story in the book that's kind of funny that early in my dating experiences, I found out you really don't use Groupons or coupons on first dates. It's really not very good form. So anyway, that was a little embarrassing.
I remember. The lady wasn't impressed.
Not at all.
Well, some ladies can be quite demanding, and certainly some crazy in this book. What's the craziest date?
There's a couple crazy ones that come to mind, but one of the most bizarre was a woman who told me she sees dead people.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of freaky. It was when you read the story in the book, it just comes to life, but it's very freaky. And there's other stories that were a little bit more bizarre. There was one date that of a nurse that, you know, I met her and she was very attractive. She goes from being very hot, and the more I talk to her, she becomes more of a hot mess. And by the end of the date, she's just a total mess, and I've got to get out of there.
What's the biggest lesson that you learned from all your experiences of writing this book?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing I learned in writing the book is how important chemistry and timing are in a relationship. They're tough to get them both right at the same time, but when you do, relationships are usually pretty good. The other thing I learned is that there's a lot of different people out there. As you read in the book, there's a lot of crazy women. I'm sure there's crazy men out there. But if you look, there's someone out there for everybody. And I think that's why the story is so good. It's my search.
So is there a happy ending for Robert James? Have you found your last first date?
I don't want to spoil it for the readers. They need to read the book.
And you're on book tour right now, and I have your book right here, Next, The Search for My Last First Date by Robert James. I know thousands of people are going to enjoy reading this book. I know I did. It's brilliant, hilarious. Where can they find it? It's
available on all the major book websites. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com. It's also available through my website, nextthebook.com.
And my final burning question. There's a rumor out there that there's a movie deal in the making. Is that true?
Yeah, well, this book has been such a great experience. It's kind of taken a life of its own. There's thousands of people following it on Twitter and Facebook. And with all of the funny visuals and all the funny stories, we were approached by a movie company to do a deal. So it looks like it's going to happen.
I certainly hope so. It would be amazing. I can't wait. And I certainly can't wait for a sequel. For those again watching, this is the book Next, The Search for My Last First Date by Robert James. And more information on nextthebook.com. Bob, thank you so much for taking your time to share this experience with us. I mean, before reading this, I certainly had no idea the complexity of the online dating game this day, and it's brilliant. Thank you so much. We wish you every single success.
Thank you very much.